Hi, I'm Alicia and welcome to the Mintay Papers YouTube channel. Today I'm sharing a wedding album that I created with the Mintay Lady Papers collection. I really do love the colours in this collection, and today I am scrapping a wedding album for my cousin who got married last year. The colours of her bridesmaid dresses were actually a dark forest green, so I felt that they suited these papers perfectly. And even the bridal bouquet matched the flowers in this collection. So let me take you step by step through how I created this album. I used nearly 2 full packets of the 12 by 12 scrapbooking sheets. And I also used some of the sticker sheets as well. So if you're attempting this album, there is 8 layouts in the album and you will need 2 full packets of the 12 by 12 papers. I like to start with creating the album cover, and this was the first time that I made a 12 by 12 album from scratch. I have made mini albums in the past, but I haven't made a 12 by 12 album before. So this was a learning curve for me. I used recycled cardboard as the cover for the album. I actually measured the 2 covers of the album, the front and the back, and they measured 13 inches by 13 inches. So I wanted there to be a little bit of a gap around my 12 by 12 pages. I also did a 13 by 3 inch rectangle, which became the spine of the album, and I covered the album in a soft pink material so that it was going to be nice and soft and squishy. I then chose some white some white fabric. It's quilting fabric from Spotlight, and you can't really see it, but it's got like a very subtle swirl in the fabric. Seeing it was a wedding album, I thought I'd go white, and I'm covering this cardboard base with the white paper so that this will become the album. And this took me quite a bit of time just to get it nice and smooth and get all the bits in the right spot. I did use my hot glue gun, which I would change. The next album that I make, I'm not going to use my hot glue gun, only because I can actually feel the glue hardened through the material in the album now. So I would just be using liquid glue when I do this the next time. I find that every time I create a project, I learn a little bit more, and that was one of the things that I learnt while creating this one. So I would be using liquid glue here next time. So I just covered the album with the white fabric, just like I would do cover a book. The secret here is really getting the fabric to stick well to the cardboard. I really don't think you can use too much glue on this because you don't want your fabric to move. I actually did 2 layers of fabric, and that was because it was a white fabric and I didn't want my pink underlay to show through. You want to be really careful that you don't have any bumps and gaps here. You want this to be really secure so that when you put your paper down over the top, you're not going to get any movement. I chose to cut off some of the bulk fabric here. You've just got to be careful that you don't cut too much, because you still need enough to just tuck that little bit in so you get a nice finished corner. So I did a little bit of experimenting here while I figured out the neatest way that I could make the corner of the album. I cut the bulk off that side as well. So I glue all of that right down so that it's a nice neat corner. And then I glue that down as well. So the aim is to just get a very neat edge finish as much as you can. Okay, and that's looking really good now. We've done the one end. We're just going to do exactly the same thing to the other side. That's a good start. The next part of our album construction is to make the inner part of the spine. And because it's a 12 by 12 album, we're going to start with a 12 by 11 piece of cardstock. And we are scoring it at 1.5, 2 1/4, 3, 3 1/4, 4 1/2, 5 1/4, 6, 6 3/4, 7 1/2, and we continue along. Every one of those little gaps is 3 1/4 inches, so it's a 3/4 inch pattern. And then we're just folding that. We're going to make one hill, and then we have one flat section. We make a hill, and then we have another flat section. So we're folding this paper so that we have little bits that stick out that we can stick our pages onto, basically. So you'll have 4 hills, and we just give that a good press down both directions. Then you turn it over and you're going to glue those hills together. So a line of glue into the gaps, or you can use double-sided tape, and then we're going to press those gaps together. Turn it over, put a line of glue down, and press that together. Just continue on with that until all of the pointy bits are all glued together and you've got 4 standing up ready to go for your album pages. The next step is gluing this into the inside of the spine of the album. It's up to you to sort of position it evenly with your eye in the center of the album. Now we're going to glue that directly onto our album, making sure that you've got plenty of glue on each little section. You don't want anything sort of popping up. Position that in. Now the next step is to put on the ribbon. We put that on before we do the inside cover so that the ribbon is hidden under the paper. So I've chosen some green crinkly ribbon. I choose the crinkly ribbon so that it doesn't matter how many times it's tied up in a bow, it still looks crinkly, so you can't really ruin it. So I'm just gluing that down and making sure that they are both even so that the album looks correct when it's closed. I added some glitter cardstock onto the inside of the album. Two reasons for this. One was that I thought it added a nice bit of sparkle to the album. The other was that I felt it needed just a little bit more support, and this glitter cardstock is very strong and thick. So I wanted to just add another layer of cardboard to the album just to give it a little bit more support. So I'm popping that there on the inside, and then I'm going to place some Mintay paper over the top with just a small border left for the glitter cardstock. So I'm tracing around and measuring to just get some measurements of what to cut my Mintay paper down to. So that sits on nicely. So you can see that there's a little sparkly edge border around that, and because the Mintay paper is so thick, it's actually adding more support to the album as well. So that'll be the inside front cover. Although you're going to cringe when I tell you that I actually changed the paper. I'll show you when I get a little bit further on into the video. Smooth that down. So there we go, there's the inside of our album and our album cover completed. We're going to move on now to layout number 1. Now these layouts are not in order of the album, these are just in the order that I created them. So what I did first in preparation for all my layouts was I knew I was going to have 8 pages, and I had all of the photos selected off from my cousin, from where she gave me all of the photos. There was hundreds of them. I knew I wasn't going to be able to scrap hundreds of them in this album, so I just picked the best ones that I thought was a nice summary of the wedding day, and I planned which photos would go on a layout together. Most of the layouts will have 2 photos on them, and some of them have 1. So I planned out on every page what photos I would use first, and then I went ahead and did all my fussy cutting. So that included cutting out lots and lots and lots of floral clusters from the lady collection. And because all that fussy cutting was completed and I'd already laid out all my layouts, the actual creation of the layouts didn't take me all that long because I'd already done the hard work. So in this layout, I just fussy cut the floral clusters from this same paper, and I layered them on top with a couple of silk blooms and a little bit of lace. And I kept the layouts really quite simple because the papers are really beautiful. There's so many beautiful images and flowers on the papers. There's not a whole lot of point in covering that up. So I just embellished the pages as best I could. Made some little floral clusters. Here's another little fussy cut flower that I'm going to add on. I pop a little bit of lace behind it. I choose a sentiment from the sticker page that suits the page well. And I add that on, which says a day to remember. And there's the page. This is layout number 2. So that was the groom's family. This is the bride's family now. Another 2 photographs and some fussy cutting. Some large floral clusters. This page is quite plain compared to a lot of other pages in the collection. So I'm using some large floral clusters on this page. Just going to glue that down. Glue that one down. I put a little bit of cardboard on the back of my photographs to raise them slightly. There's plenty of room in the album to have some thick embellishments. So this is not going to be a problem at all, having a little bit of height to the photographs. So now I'm working on a floral cluster embellishment. I've got my fussy cutting, I've got my silk bloom, and I'm layering the silk bloom on top of the fussy cutting. Going to put a little bit of cardboard on the back so that it has some height to it. Just cutting some lace. I'm going to drape that lace down there so that that hangs nicely. And the flower on top. And then a little center in the middle of the flower. Just adding some more fussy cutting underneath that silk flower. And now I'm bringing that floral cluster down the side of the page to the next photograph. Putting some more of the lace on and then some flowers. I've chosen a sentiment from the sticker sheet for this page which says beautiful memories. Thought that was beautiful sentiment for this page. I'm going to layer that onto some fussy cutting. And I end up adding a little bit more lace coming down there. Trying to add in another flower down this section here. Some more fussy cut images to connect it all together. finally I'm just adding in a little bit of cream ribbon there, and then some little pearl flowers to sprinkle around the page for embellishment. And that's the completed page. Moving on to layout 3 now. So we're just adding some cardboard onto the back of these photos. I matted all of these photos with some black cardboard so that they had a black border around them. This page is a picture of the bride and her bridesmaids, and it's also got the bride's accessories photo on it. So just adding in some fussy cut flowers, a little bit of cardboard on the back of those. I'm going to position it a little bit differently from the ones that are printed on the page, so that you've got a layered look. I've also chosen another cardboard sticker sheet sentiment that says, I think it says follow your dreams or believe in your dreams. So I thought that would be a nice sentiment for this page. Just adding in a little floral cluster that's going to go above the sentiment, just popping out from the behind the photo, and then the sentiment can just go on top. And we might do a couple of silk blooms over on this side of the layout, layering those on top of some fussy cut flowers and some lace. Adding in a little bit of fussy cutting there. Some centers in the flowers. And that's the completed layout. I thought you might be interested to see where I'm storing all these layouts as I'm creating them. I laid them all out onto a bed. There's 8 layouts all together. This is how I planned my layouts. I put the photographs that I was going to use on each one, and some of the fussy cutting that I thought that I would use as well. So we're moving on now to layout number 4, which is 2 photographs of the one photograph of the wedding party in a field and the bride and groom in the field, and it's on a plain sort of page with some fussy cutting flowers that I'm going to put in around each of the photographs, adding in some silk blooms and some lace. Use the same flowers pretty much through the whole album for consistency. I've got some stickers here by Cocoa Vanilla, which I thought would be a good match for this page. So we're just gluing those photos on. Adding in some flowers. Little bit of green foliage there in the middle. Some flowers down the side. Just adding in some fussy cutting around the edges of the photographs, adding in the silk blooms. We'll put these words on. We've got a couple of love hearts, we might add those over there, balance it out a little bit. We're going to add in the center of the flowers, and we'll just pop a little green leaf in under there somewhere to just finish it off. And that's our completed layout. On to layout 5 now. This is a single photo layout. This is one of the most beautiful shots of the bride and groom in the wedding, so I thought I'd put it on a page all on its own. I'm going to add some lace underneath the photograph. A little bit more lace hanging down there and a fussy cut flower. Couple of silk blooms on this corner here. Center of the flowers. Some little tiny pearl flowers sprinkled around the page for embellishment. A little bit more lace there. And that's our completed layout. Moving on to layout number 6 now. This is another single photo layout. Going to use the fussy cutting floral cluster in the top corner, and then we'll have our photo underneath that. We've got another row of that pretty lace underneath the photograph. Then we've got a huge floral cluster that we've fussy cut, using a couple of Kaiser Craft stickers throughout these pages. They've got some lovely quotes that I can add in black writing. So we're just adding in that really large fussy cut cluster, and we're going to put some of our silk blooms on top. We've got a pretty picture of a girl's head that is part of the collection that goes quite nicely with this photograph, because the bride has long brown hair just like the girl in the image. So I thought that matched in quite nicely. It's a very feminine page, this one. Popped in another quote sticker. Just finding the perfect spot for the girl's head. Just going to pop it in up there. And that's the completed layout. Moving on to layout 7 now. These photos are very dark photos taken on the dance floor at the night of the wedding. Going to use both of those. One is also the cutting of the cake, so we've got 2 significant photos for the album. And we're just following the same process of adding flowers around the outside of the photo. Adding some lace, adding some silk blooms. We're going to add another Craft sticker onto this layout. Some more of the layering of flowers. Getting to the end of the fussy cut flowers now. And there's our completed layout. We're on to our 8th and final layout now for the album. This is another single page photograph. I've used a cardboard sticker sheet sentiment from the Mintay Lady sticker collection. It's a beautiful photo of the bride getting ready. So I figured the sentiment, "This is your time," is a nice sentiment to match this layout. I'm going to put some lace along the bottom of the photo, 2 silk blooms at the side. Gluing those down now. A little bit of white lace underneath those. Centers for the middle of the flowers. Just planning out where to put the fussy cutting, where to put the sentiment. I'm just using some cardboard to mount that up a little higher. We've got another lady there she's in a white dress, the white bow in her hair, so I thought that might fit nicely into this layout. And there's the completed layout. We're moving on to putting our pages in the album now. Now that we've finished the 8 layouts, they're all ready to go. Now it's time to glue them safely into the album. I've actually changed my mind on the inside of the front cover, and I decided that I wanted it to be this floral paper. So I'm just cutting this floral paper down so that it's going to fit into my album, and I'm actually going to use this as little strips in between the pages. So I'm just chopping them down into, I think they're 1-inch strips. So you can see here I'm just gluing those 1-inch strips in between each of those page holder little bits that stick out. And that just creates a really pretty backdrop for the pages. These strips on the outside I think were a 1.5-inch strip, so they're a little bit wider, and they're going to be glued in covering up that white cardstock. And this was where I decided that I wanted to change the inside of the front cover. I thought I'd match it up with the floral paper that I've used in between the pages. And I'm also going to start gluing in the layouts that I've created in the order that I want them in the album. card to be patient and wait for these to dry. Here's the next one. Just going to put some glue all the way around the edges and through the middle of this page. Just lining those up, making sure that they are even, there's not any extra paper sticking out. That's looking good. On to the next one now. Now obviously you have to be careful about the order that you're going to put these pages in, because once you've glued them in you can't change that order. So I had a bit of a think about the order that I wanted the photographs in, and I'm gluing them in according to that. And because the Mintay paper is so lovely and thick, we don't actually need cardstock for the base of our pages. We're going to be using 2 of the thick Mintay papers, and that's plenty of thickness for pages in an album. Finally, we are up to decorating the album cover. I used a fussy cut frame from Mintay Frame book to frame this small photo of the bride and groom, and I'm just pasting that onto the top part of the spine. And I've got this other beautiful photo here that I chose for the front cover. I'm just going to pop that photo, that paper behind the photo, and I'm thinking about using this word here. I'm going to match that onto some black cardstock to tie in with the rest of the photographs. I'm just going to match the photo with the black cardstock as well. That'll just give a nice photo for the front of the album. Going to glue that on to the material cover of the album now, and I've used a die to create the love word out of the same black cardboard, that I mounted all the photos with. I'm just going to stick that on there with a couple of love hearts. And that's the album complete. And here's the album walkthrough now of the whole project is finished. We've got the front cover. And when you open front cover, we've got the inside of the cover, the first page, which is a photo of the couple, and then 2 photos of the bride getting ready before the wedding. Then we have the bridesmaids and the accessories page, the bride's family, the groom's family at the reception, and then the last page in the paddocks on the farm. And that's the completed album. 8 layouts and 1 12 by 12 album, a special gift for my cousin to celebrate her wedding and to keep her memories safe. So I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial, and I'd love to hear if you decide to create an album using the Mintay Lady collection. It really is a beautiful collection, and it's easy to make some quick layouts with this collection. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe to the Mintay YouTube channel for a new video released every Sunday. Have a lovely crafty day.